for joining myself. I have to admit, I'm out of practice because I usually don't do interviews at 7 p.m. So it's almost past my bedtime. So I really don't know how I'm going to bring back an evening meet, to be fair, to say the least, because it is definitely way past the time I'm used to. I'm much more of a morning person now than an evening person. Look, massive, massive thanks. I think everyone who's on the call, whether you're listening live or at a later time, knows you quite well. I still want to address the question because you're on the panel this coming Monday morning. It's not my favourite topic. It's Daryl Norcott's favourite topic, to say the least, which is business optimization, business efficiency. What does it mean to you as a business, Adam?
It's a great question, Brendan, and I think it means things at multiple levels, really, because in my own suite of businesses that sort of support the property portfolio, find more properties, ensure they're well refurbished, brought up to their best standard, and then that they're managed well, that the assets are managed well over moving parts, an awful lot of moving parts. People would probably shiver if they saw what our operations manual looks like, what our broken down our procedures and our processes look like, because you just think a lot of people say to me, why haven't you just invested around the corner? Lots of people say, don't do it remotely. I've completely sort of thrown the form book out the window on that one. But in order to be able to do that, the reality is there are a lot more moving parts that you need to be able to control as much as possible. And you need to be able to do that with tech support. You need to be able to do that with leveraging relationships with people rather than necessarily going yourself, for example. And you just need to have a bit of a penchant for detail focus when it comes to operations, really. So there are hundreds and hundreds of bits of processes that we need to go through as a business. But then I think there's a strategic level to this, because operations strategy is not something that people tend to talk about very broadly. They talk about business strategy, and it means different things to different people in reality. They talk about strategic parts of their business, strategic vision. Sometimes they talk about property strategies, which aren't really strategies at all, unfortunately, but that's another topic for another day. But operations strategy and even above that level, really, the philosophy of Kaizen, as it's called by the Japanese. I believe it was part of the Toyota production system to start with, but that philosophy of continuous improvement, and that's that sort of hunger you need to instill in an operations-heavy organization. So that's the thing that made McDonald's what it is today. That's the thing that made IKEA what it is today, that passion to always say, but if we did that, if we moved that bit of the process, or if we did, so I'll give you a tangible example for property. One of the things that we did throughout the lockdown was that we had to change the way that people viewed property. So we figured pretty quickly, we were doing a lot of stuff remotely already. So we knew that we could effectively do remote check-ins and outs and things like that. We were already doing it. We just need to remove the person from the day and move the inventory clerk back a few days or forward a few days or whatever to make sure there was no contact going on. But one of the things that we did was we made sure we had video walkthroughs of all of our properties. And we were sending, interested party comes in, they ask a few questions, they answer a few questions like a pre-filter, and then they'd be sent the video if they wanted to see it. And April, May time, people were willing to take properties on the strength of the video. So it completely changed. No need for a viewing. No need for a viewing that was very difficult to organise anyway, safely, even observing social distancing. Comfortable without a viewing. These were people who were really motivated to move because they needed to get out of a household where there were maybe older members of a generation. They didn't want to put at risk. They were key workers. They were doing different, some people splitting up, relationship breakdowns, needed to move quickly. And so what we did is we revised that whole process. And then that's led us to do is look at that process in more detail for what that looks like after the lockdown. So now video walkthroughs will be standard, and we will change the order in which we work the process and actually perform the viewing. So that wouldn't really exist if you didn't have a hunger for. We never start a day in my business thinking we know everything. We're always thinking we can do better, we can grow, we can learn. We seek to do it, yes, cheaper, quicker, less effort, all of that. Not to seek to compromise on standards. Ideally, do it better, get a better customer experience, which I think is what we're trying to deliver. So that's what it means. That's what it means to me in my businesses, Brendan.
So it's interesting because I was talking to Ben Richards, who's on the panel, who came up with customer satisfaction or customer service. So you've covered that, i.e., using new technology. What does deals mean to you in terms of optimizing deals? I know I was on. I'll give a bit of advertising. I was on Spin. I won a book, so thank goodness.
Yes, you did.
So that you know. So I don't know what the book is about. To be fair, I have to give them my address. But deals. You mentioned a website. Is that one of the key websites which you use when you analyze deals? I know it's probably lots of websites, but you mentioned one. I can't remember what it's called. Street Profile.
It's called streetcheck.co.uk that I mentioned. So someone was asking the question pertaining to what we were saying just a little earlier on around how do you go out of area? How do you go out of area with any confidence? And I said, well, you definitely want to go and walk the streets, breathe the air. My position would be once you've been to 50 different towns, you've got a pretty good handle on the right streets, the wrong streets. I'm a big believer in we can't understand what goes on in our brains as human beings. There's 95% of our thinking is in our subconscious, and what they call heuristics, which is our gut feel, really the technical term for our gut feel, is very powerful. And you will know after you've been in 1,000 houses in 500 streets what this street is realistically like or not like. You won't see and feel everything. But also you can translate some of that into get that feel on Google Street View and things like that and look at the demographics. So one of the things you might be looking at is where the employment, are we talking white collar? Are we talking blue collar? Where's the socio-economic breakdown? Look at the employed versus unemployed versus student versus retired, because this sort of stuff is all out there. And Street Check, what it does is just an aggregator, Brendan. So it just brings.
I was
lots of
really
different
impressed.
sites together.
Sorry, I don't want to cut in. But I was really impressed when I looked at Street Check the other night. I looked at the street which I live on. I thought, wow, they know
Yeah.
more about the street than I do. Now, to be fair, I've only moved onto the street literally since December. But even so, I was really, really impressed by the amount of information which they've got, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a good site, and it brings together a lot. It's a bit like things like I'm a big fan of sites like the Office of National Statistics, but they're not the most user friendly things in the world. They're very, very data heavy. Well, of course they are by their very nature. But sites like Street Check are helpful in bringing things together, I think, really.